extraordinaires. Now's the time to share. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Extraordinaires. We're all extraordinaires.
We have a massive show for you today. It's kind of a do-good experiment of sorts. It's a totally new format for this podcast because we're hosting an entire Q&A panel on dating and relationships right here and right now. And I couldn't be more excited. I want you to remember that we are filming every episode of Extraordinaires and we edit a package together for your viewing pleasure. So don't be afraid to pop on over to the Teresa Livingston YouTube channel to watch today's episode and all the others and, make a date of it or not. You can watch them one at a time. I won't be mad. And if you're already here watching on YouTube, I totally, totally heart you so much. All right, today we're talking about love. True love. And how do we find it? How do we meet the love of our life? Is the answer blind dates? Is it Match? Is it Tinder? Maybe it's Christian Mingle. I don't know. Maybe it's a good bar on a Friday night and give that old one night stand a second chance. Ew. No, don't do that. But we've all been there and I'm not mad and it's not shameful for any of us to search for love. When it comes to love though, for me, I do have to add a little disclaimer right here at the top. I found it. I found a really good kind and I'm happily married to a wonderful man. He's my best mate and my beloved, # hot husband Will Travail. We met and fell in love mere moments, it seems, before that online dating shenanigan game became a thing. And thank goodness, because that whole world looks totally tricksy. If you're in it, I send you all the blessings and all the love. A handful, as I hold up one finger, of my best mates have actually met their match through those apps. But a good percentage more of my most excellent single friends, though, are still swiping among other formats to find love. And I really just can't believe that these beautiful, wonderful people who are friends of mine are still single. It makes no sense to me. And so this episode is for you, my friends, and for all my new friends out there who I just haven't met yet. They're listening or watching at home or in the car. Don't be watching in the car, it's dangerous. Or wherever you might be right now. If you are single and you are awesome and in the eyes of your friends you're a catch and you're totally ready to meet the love of your life and get into digging into a relationship and creating a kick-ass life together with your soulmate, then this episode has been created especially for you. Because real love is like the totally bestest thing in the whole wide, wonderful world. And I believe that it starts with loving yourself. But I'm no expert, and so that's why I've called in the big guns today. I'm super excited to introduce 2 relationship and empowerment life coaches who my husband and I actually met quite recently. And when I found out that MICHELE ARIANA was a relationship coach for women, and I found out that Jeffrey Platts was a relationship coach for men, I was like, we have to do an episode and get all my friends on it and talk about relationships and dating and finding love because I think it's a really, really important conversation to have. Both Michelle and Jeffrey are independent experts. They don't work together. This is just a random, lovely serendipitous meeting. They are both independent experts in the field of helping single, hetero men and women in their 30s and 40s attract their life partners. And I just also happen to have 6 of my most divinely good looking and excellent, amazing single friends who fit exactly that demographic, also waiting backstage here on this Zoom, ready to ask their burning questions on dating and relationships on behalf of themselves and all the single ladies, all the single men. So let's just get into the introduction, shall we? All right. Our women's coach, Michele Ariana, has been a female empowerment and relationship coach for the past decade or more. She wrote an ebook called Single and Stuck, Clear the 15 Sabotaging Beliefs That Block Women from Love. Sounds like a good book. And she runs 10-day online courses called Manifest, get it, Manifest, 10 proven steps to attract love using the ultimate law of attraction. Her passion is to help powerful, visionary women attract love, while loving themselves without losing themselves. That's huge. I can totally relate to that. Lost myself more than once in a really bad mistake. So I'm super happy that she's here with us today. And our men's coach, the lovely Jeffrey Platts, he's been a men's dating and relationship coach for over 10 years. He's led more than 200 workshops and retreats on personal growth, dating and communication. And I love how he lays out his teaching process for relationship coaching. It's like a 4-step situation. 1, create a solid foundation. Duh, excellent. 2, attract through authenticity, also excellent. 3, explore with integrity, my favorite. And 4, build a thriving one-on-one relationship. I'm thrilled Jeffrey is here with us today also. Look, guys, we're not going to get this whole thing sorted out today, but I'm so excited to be opening up this conversation with these very fine people and my lovely friends. So please, would you make welcome our excellent coaches, Michele Ariana and Jeffrey Platts? Yay!
Hey, thank you.
Hey there.
How
Thank
are
you
you?
so much.
Hey, Teresa.
I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.
Can I ask you each individually, like, why? What's your personal story? What drove you to want to spend your entire life and career just on creating happiness for others? Anyone, just whoever wants to go first, I'm interested to hear.
Ladies first. You want to go first?
Thanks, Jeff.
Chivalry, that's step 5.
Love it.
Touche.
Oh, gosh. What has driven me to help others find love? I think you mentioned it, you touched upon it. Finding or attracting love starts with self-love. And just my whole life journey has been one of tapping further into self-love. 7 years ago, I grew through a divorce, and it was a really challenging time. A lot of things were breaking down in my life. I was feeling broken. And a lot of like the old limiting beliefs from childhood, not feeling good enough, the just limiting beliefs that keep people stuck.
Totally.
Really started surfacing. And I knew, I wanted the best for my ex-husband. I wanted him to find love. And I didn't feel like the game was over yet. I was like, I feel like there's love for me. And I knew that there was an epic love out there. It's an interesting feeling because I'm a pretty independent person, amazing at manifesting different things. But this one area, I was like, there's more to this. So I had discovered some things along the way about like twin flames, divine partners, soulmates. And it really opened me up to what's possible. And I think that's the biggest thing. When we each have desires in our heart and soul. And if we ignore them, they get louder. And so, I'm sure we've all experienced that. So just through my journey of overcoming my own challenges, anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, like all kinds of things, stepping into my power and then utilizing those same ideologies and techniques to then attract my divine partner. And so it was a long journey, ups and downs, face the shadow, face the inner child, all the demons came out. But within 2 years, I actually did manifest my twin flame. And there was a process I followed. So I'm just passionate about, if I was growing through that, who else could use support? Who else has that desire in their heart and soul to attract love? And not that because you have to be, not that you're not whole, you're whole and complete. And yet when you have a desire for that next level love, there comes a journey with that. So I felt like I have some wisdom to share that can help some people overcome the challenges.
Boom. I love that. Thank you. What about you, Jeffrey? Something similar?
Yeah. Well, I guess my own personal story of, my inspiration comes from wanting to give back and be of service and speed up the learning curve for other, good men like myself that were not, for all intents and purposes, we didn't grow up learning how to do dating, connecting, relationships, communication, right? And so for me, it started from just growing up really, really shy, really quiet, not really having many friends and kind of not feeling like I didn't belong, in the majority of the circles at school. And then, then the next phase of that was the dating, not what was wrong with me. Like, why am I not meeting women or I guess at the time, girls, in my school that were, why am I not getting the attention? And so for me, it just kind of that led into my 20s and college. And so, and, you know, I dabbled into all different stuff of personal growth and, you know, all the things of like pickup artist stuff to David Data to the whole world. And, you know, I had my whole series of stumbles and trial and error and fine tuning what works for me. And then one of the things that's been in my life is synthesizing ideas and extracting the essential, like what's going to really move the needle, what actually is the most essential thing of this concept, of this teaching, of this practice. So I feel like I've done a good job over the years in kind of creating, you know, a methodology that allows men to come in that, you know, from wherever they're at in terms of the skill set or experience level, that they can get the basic, like, you know, the foundation of how to connect, you know, how to, you know, look at themselves. You know, Michelle mentioned self-love and self-appreciation, self-love, self-value, all of those things are important. And so I think if I can leverage my experience, my stories, you know, and also my skills, right, and talents in a way that can serve and help other men that maybe feel like they don't fit into the traditional masculine, you know, stereotypes, but still like are good men and just need to maybe fine tune or tweak or revisit some areas that they've forgotten about in themselves to really be a powerful, you know, strong version of their own masculinity to then attract their partner.
I love the two of you. We've been having great conversations when we planned this thing, and I'm really excited to introduce to you some of my dearest, most beloved friends.
Yes.
Our intention, of course, is to just have that conversation, open it up. Maybe some little kernel of new idea could, you know, be nurtured inside my friends. And I don't really know what's going to happen, but you know, let's just try something new. So let's introduce our singles. In no particular order, as my hot husband Will welcomes them onto the call. We've got Jimi, we have Lily, and Sam is coming in. We got Lisa, James, and Sonalii.
Hey guys.
Nice. Hi.
Hey, James and Lisa. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Hi, Lily.
So I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity, and it doesn't matter who wants to start first, but just want to give all of you lovely, good-looking, excellent people, and everyone who's listening or watching at home, just know that these people specifically that have appeared in my life have all been handpicked because they're kick-ass. They're all very, very deserving of love, and I would love nothing more than each of them to be able to find like the most amazing love in their life. That's my wish for each of these people. So if you feel so compelled to just jump on and be like, introduce yourself and, you know, tell us a little bit about why dating has been difficult for you or what you're coming up against. We'll get to our questions in a minute, but we just want to, you know, meet you and let Jeffrey and Michelle get to know you just a tiny bit.
Well, hi guys.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello. I am an actor, producer, entrepreneur. I came from New York, living in LA now. And as you can imagine, I live a crazy, busy artist life. So I think a lot of the trouble for me has been the noise, cutting through the noise. You know, it's fast paced, it's crazy, it's noisy. So in my perspective, I think that's been a huge hurdle for me.
And when you say noise, you mean like the noise of the dating world, like, or the noise? What do you mean by the noise?
Yeah, well, you know, Hollywood, being an actor,
Got it.
it's day to day, it's hour to hour, even. You know, like you can be off on an audition or booking something and on a plane to another country like in 2 seconds, and it's not really that stable. As
Got it. Yeah.
You know, the artist's life is not stable. Like no matter what part of artistry you do, it's you know, it's shaky ground, and that's not really a great place to start when you're trying to dig into a relationship or date. Also, like big cities are crazy to date in because everyone is running off over there, over here, and there's choices everywhere. you have 2 seconds to spit your game and make your piece, and then someone's like off and gone. Like that's including myself too, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's very cut and paste, a cut paste world that we live in, like a swipe left, swipe right world that we live in, you know?
Very brave of you, James, for going first.
Yeah, thank you, James. That was great.
Do we have a female who wants to go male, female? Keep it fair, yeah? Any women want to jump in next?
Sure, I'll jump in.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm a little odd duck. So I met T literally 5 months after my marriage imploded. And it's been 4 years. and now I'm not gonna lie to you, it's scary as hell. Because when I'm not from this country, and where I come from, the men act like men. I don't know how better to explain it. The dating culture has completely changed. All of a sudden, there's applications now. You used to go places and meet people. All of a sudden, that's different. Like T said, people are swiping right, swiping left. And I watch some of my most beautiful friends go on 10,000 dates to maybe possibly have the one guy. Or these women get ready and look beautiful, are smart, are funny, and they show up at a date, and if the date doesn't go right, they end up paying half. So when I used to date, and actually I never dated, I would meet someone or we hit it off or we didn't. I never wasted my time. I could tell in 5 minutes if I wanted to spend a lot of time with you. So I never did, let's go on to 1,000 dates. Teresa, you're gonna beat this later. I don't date. No, you're gonna have to, because it's the only way I can explain it. The way I was raised, you don't play musical dicks. You meet people, you vibe, then you go on a couple of dates and you focus on that one person out of respect and out of giving this a chance to see if it's gonna go anywhere before you sleep together, before you, everything that, and listen, mazel tov. If sleeping on the first date is your thing, I wish I was that brave, but I like to get to know people better. So I'm in a place where everybody's doing all that stuff, and I'm just like, so I've been single for 4 years because I wanted to get my shit together and make sure that I don't bring my baggage into a new relationship. And I show up and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, maybe I'm just going to hide a little bit more, but I want kids. I want a husband. I'm not afraid of getting married again. I'm not afraid of relationships. I fucking love. But it's scary as hell out here in La La Land, where women are aplenty and men don't want to grow up. The ones I've come across, including good friends, where they just want to ride the wave, go out on a bunch of dates and don't commit. And I am the committed. I commit. I just want to be with that one guy and I want to go have fun. And I'm sorry, until we get to a better place, yeah, you're paying for the dates. You're paying for dinner.
In Australia, we call that old school.
I'm old school. I am so, again, I was not raised in this country.
Yep.
So, and so my values in life are old-fashioned. I was raised incredibly old-fashioned, and I love it. And I don't want to change just so I can get a date. I might as well just stay single, be at home with my dog, and know that at least I can cook a good dinner, and I'm going to be satisfied at the end of the night. I don't know, So it's like 4 years out of a divorce, and now I'm just like, all right, I'm feeling a little brave, and I'm like, maybe not. So there you go. That's my story.
I love you, Sonalii, aka Ugly Duckling. All right, great. We'll get to your questions in a minute. That's awesome, gentlemen.
Jimmy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
You want me to go?
Jimmy's going to save it till last.
All right, I'll go, I guess.
All right, Sam.
Well, first of all, thank you, Teresa, for bringing us all together. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
And thanks to the relationship experts for your time. I guess
you're a good man.
No, thank you, T. So I guess I've always been a serial monogamist. I'm very loyal. I've never cheated on anyone. And I've always just had a girlfriend. And I guess my story for this purpose, this setting, starts with 2007 when I went to Burning Man with a couple of you guys. I will not name names, but I was there with some of you. And I met this wonderful woman who ended up being a diplomat in Afghanistan. So I picked up everything, and we fell madly in love, and I moved to Afghanistan to be with her. So I guess I'm a hopeless romantic as well. But I spent 5 years in Afghanistan, and excuse me, I have a little cough. I hope it's not coronavirus, but I do have a cough.
At least you're at home.
Yeah, I spent 5 years in Afghanistan, and that's a story for another time. But basically, she left a little bit earlier than I did, and we had a long distance relationship. Ended up moving to London to be with her, but it had been too long, and it just ended up not working. Plus, I was dealing with a lot of PTSD issues at that time after 5 years in a war zone, and I was in a bad place. So I was bringing that energy into the relationship. So that was tough. So I left Afghanistan after that and came back to LA. And I really had a tough re-entry here to Los Angeles. And I think, Teresa, you were there for a front row seat for all that.
Yeah.
And I think what I did was I met a woman who was really not good for me. She was very fiery and wild, and didn't really work out very well. And I think I was looking in her for that sense of danger that I had found in Afghanistan to sort of deal with my PTSD issues. And I, started drinking a lot more then to sort of self-medicate for all that stuff. Anyway, after her, I chose a woman who was a lot more stable and a lot more wonderful and great. And she's still a really good friend of mine, but we just didn't work out. And I think my drinking, to be honest, contributed a little bit to the end of that relationship. So that was 3 years ago. And since then, I decided to be single after breaking up with her, and just to deal with myself, to deal with my PTSD issues, to deal with, like, who am I as a person without a woman? Because, I too would try to find myself in women. I'd try to find completion in women. And you got to love yourself before you can love someone else. So I was really actively searching for that.
Amen.
And so then last year I gave up drinking, and I've been getting on the dating apps quite a bit. And man, it's tough out there. And I'm not looking for a hookup. I'm looking for something deeper. And I've been really picky, so I've gone on a lot of dates and just been very clear about who I want to spend my time with. But it's tough because, I've met some really interesting, intelligent, really cool, successful women, which I'm attracted to, or I want that kind of woman in my life. Haven't in the past. Sometimes I'm attracted to other kinds of women, like the wild, fiery ones, but that's what I'm trying to manifest in my life. So I have met some of those, and we've gone on a few dates, but all of them have either ghosted me or just stopped it, right? And so right now, what I'm worried, I know we're not getting to a question, but right now I'm worried that I've just been single for so long, 3 years now, and I love my life. I love my friends. I'm creatively fulfilled with a lot of really interesting projects. I'm a filmmaker. Life is great, and I have all the emotional support I need with all my friends. Like I feel emotionally fulfilled. I feel creatively fulfilled. I love hanging out by myself in this time. Like, I guess I'm much more of an introvert than I ever thought I was. I love hanging out with my foster dog and just doing this. So when I do go out with these women, it's like, it's hard for me to think of after, dinner to, like, invite them back to my space, my house, and continue that conversation. It just seems so exhausting to me. If I was drinking, it would be like, great, let's come back for some wine. And that's sort of that's fine. But now it's like really tough for me to, anyway, so I'm trying to figure out how to attract the right woman into my life that I will, and my too set in my ways to be able to find love. It's scary, So that is my story in a nutshell.
Bless you, Sam. I'm sure that Jeffrey and Michelle are taking some notes on all of our stories here, so we can get into like something more deeper. But I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart so vulnerably, Sam. And I love you to death. Well, I love you to life. Anyone? Lisa, Lily?
Hi, my name is Lisa. And actually looping right back to what Sam had to say.
Yes.
In fact, when Teresa wrote me, she was like, hey, love, do you consider yourself single right now? And would you be interested in being part of this panel? And part of, at one point there was the phrase, people who are like ready to dig in and dive in and find their soulmate. And I was like, I consider myself single, but I can't tell you that I actually am dying to go out and find a soulmate. It's not something that I'm in active pursuit around. Like Sam, I'm very happy with my life, and it's been a long time building. I too have been divorced. That was a long time ago, 8 years, a little over 8. And I do feel fulfilled, and also, I'm a yoga teacher, so santosha keeps coming to mind, contentment and a sense of steadiness. And so while I am very much open to romantic, here's the other thing I would say that I do have particularly 2 individuals in my life who are partners that are not romantic partners. There's no romance in that, but we move through our living with a degree of partnership, business partnership, living partnership, but that I don't look at those things as love or romantic partnership. So it's also, I don't feel like I'm completely isolated while I don't have that sort of romantic love. And I am very open to that being a possibility, but I don't feel in a state of need right now. And I really do think that there's an element of, I look at desire as inspiration, that when you're in a state of desire, it inspires you to take action, to make change. And that actually is necessary in order to do all that work. And that is required in order to make that change. So without necessarily at this moment in time feeling inspired with desire, then I haven't also been willing to rock the boat of my life enough to change it in order to create that change of relationship. I would honestly say, though, truthfully, it's been a long time since I've also met someone that interested me enough in order to do that too. So both. Yeah, and so a lot of the things that Sam had to say at the end of having creativity and fulfillment and having created a sense of steadiness and wanting to be open to those things. And it's something that I revisit actually quite often, is this just about being set in a pattern, or is it truly something I'm not seeking right now? Like, is my perception of I'm not seeking it right now about the fact that it's a self-defense mechanism, or am I truly content? And so that is something that I actually was having this not long ago, probably why you heard me in the ethers and were like, hey, do you want to be on this podcast? Because it was something that I was revisiting the contemplation of really recently. Am I still just moving through a pattern of protection, or am I truly in a state of contentment? So that's sort of where I sit right now.
I love that, and I also love you, and thank you for sharing. I love that our pattern that everyone of our singles has shared is it's creating a similar picture, right? We're all not sure if it's possible right now because it's been so long, and I believe it absolutely is. Thanks for sharing, Lisa. Jimmy, are you ready to jump on and share now?
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah. I'm heartbroken. I'm currently heartbroken. I just broke up with somebody the day before this COVID shelter in place went into effect. And it was a woman that I met in August, took her out in October, and the last 6 months have been a hurricane, a tornado of the best fucking time of my life. I can't even explain to you like the magic that I feel with this person, how the universe kind of conspired to meet us. Just very strange situations that we would always wind up in the same place together, or she would go to New York and a friend of mine would send me a photo of her in the bar with him. Like there's weird situations. So she's the one that, like I never saw coming. I wasn't looking for her. I saw her literally across a crowded room and I couldn't take my eyes off her. And then I don't know what happened. Like there's a lot that happened, but nothing really happened for us to not talk. And then we just stopped kind of talking. But before that, I don't have problems meeting women. I meet more fucking women than I think I should. I've dated like beautiful, amazing, smart, powerful, kind, generous women. And no one's done anything for me like the way this one has. Like there's lots of abundance of beautiful female energy in my life, but nothing really moves the needle to the point where, oh my God, this is the one and I'm in love. And it's been very far and few in between. And then this one, just absolutely out the park. I have no idea. So I'm in a weird spot. And that's where I'm at.
Ah, Jimmy, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. All right, well, get your questions ready because maybe we can find some through line for you. Thanks, Jimmy. Love you so much. Miss Lily.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily, and if you get paid to be a people person, that's pretty much what my job should be.
Yes.
I am a storyteller, an actor, a producer, a collaborator of all sorts. I've been an arts educator as well as just a regular classroom teacher. I have a lot of young mentors. I have a lot of friends of all ages, and I meet people easily. I am involved in lots of things and softball teams, and like meeting people is never a problem, but I've never dated. I've had very successful short-term sexual relationships, and I've had boyfriends, and really only 3 boyfriends that are like anything that my parents ever knew about, my family knew about. One was a 10-year relationship, and that ended, and then I waited for 3 years. I did a lot of deep dives on my life and, you know, all the things to like know that I was growing up and going to show up in the next relationship as authentically as I could. And I did that, and I just chose the wrong person and ended up with an unfortunately emotionally abusive, but not intentionally, just one of those people that probably thinks they did the best they could. But in the end, it was full on gaslighting. Ugh. And he was mimicking me as like the person that he wishes he could be with. Or it was like it's just so weird. And so that happened almost 2 years ago. And I was like, where did I give this guy matches to gaslight me? What's my part in this? And so that happened at the same time as like career and mentors that I had and jobs and everything was all leaving my life. So the last couple of years have been like the dark night of the soul for me, and have been really difficult and fucking beautiful. And I love myself, and I am not perfect. And I'm doing a couple things that are like rebuilding and pivots and moving, and also open to dating as a practice because I do intimacy really well on different levels. I love men. I love men who are themselves. I love being friends with women, and I just don't date. That's a muscle I don't have. So I made this decision. I'm going to start dating. And then this COVID thing happened. And that worked out real well for me. So now I am a grown-ass lady living with my family in the middle of the country, not with the majority of my underwear, but I feel safe. And and I'm actually relocating out here to Minnesota in the next month or two. So I'm excited to meet people as the world opens up a little bit, and also excited to use this opportunity to meet people and connect in this way. I have some questions about boundaries and like how to move forward with certain things. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Teresa. I love you, Teresa, so much. And I love everybody here. So thank you.
Well done, Lily. Thank you, everyone, all of you, for being here, for being a part of this and being willing to have this conversation, because I'm hoping that there's some people at home listening going, I totally relate to that. It's an important conversation, and I think we can all get something out of this. Michelle, is there someone that you want to is there someone that, one of our women that stuck out, you're like, I wanted to talk about that first? Should we kick it off with you, and then we can jump into some questions and we can just bounce the conversation back and forward. So if you have things that you wanted to say and talk about, you're welcome to. Just open your line and, jump in respectfully when the time is right. I'll leave the floor fairly open for us. But Michelle, if you want to kick it off.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you, everyone, just for your openness, vulnerability, just being willing to share. I mean, our intent when Teresa, Jeffrey, and I got together, Teresa, this was your vision. And so appreciate you bringing us together. And our intention is to serve to the highest and best we can. So, all your stories are amazing. I was taking some notes and I have little tidbits for each. Does anyone have a burning question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question in two parts. One leads to the other, which is, when talking about meeting people, is there an empowering way to speak of whether or not someone is at, and I'm going to say it in the offensive way first, and then you correct me with the good empowering language, of someone who's just not at your level? They're not on the same path, or your growth edge is different, whatever it might be. As a growth-minded person, this goes into the second question. How can I talk about them? Godspeed, peace be with you, and I'm going to continue on my path. Also, as a growth-minded person who's not afraid of challenge, when do you know if you're growing because of this interaction / relationship, and when are you actually hurting yourself? Fish or cut bait?
Awesome. All great questions. The first one was, I'm assuming you were referring to when you meet someone and you feel like they're not a vibrational match, like how do you actually address that?
What's the word you just said?
Well, and honestly, we just had a conversation with a friend around this. I think in anything, communication is the key. And I don't know about all of you, but I think when I was in the dating scene, the whole ghosting thing and the whole just not knowing, question, for some reason that just feels like an energy suck. So my go-to is always set an intention to come from love. And then if someone is truly not a vibrational match, just share with them, my intuition just feels like it's not really aligned. I wish you the best. And I know you're going to manifest or attract the perfect person for you, but for me, I'm just not feeling it, And so I think as long as that is your authentic truth, I feel like that's the most empowered way that I have found to share it.
Are you
That's
saying
a
it,
great
Lily,
question.
because you're too kind and you never want to hurt anybody's feelings?
I'm actually, I'm okay with having the direct conversation. I'm looking for how to talk about it in my mind in a way that doesn't put someone else down and me above them.
Sure. And it's very healthy. If any of you follow Dr. DeMartini, he talks a lot about polarity. Whenever you put yourself on a pedestal and you put someone in the pit, the law of polarity and the law of rhythm start kicking in. And if you put yourself in the pit and you look at someone and put them on a pedestal, the balancing has to occur. So I love the fact that you're looking for kind of more of an intuitive or an aligned way to share. It just doesn't feel like it's a good fit or it's not aligned. My whole thing is teaching about alignment. So when you're communicating with someone, if something doesn't feel aligned, I think it's perfectly acceptable to say, thank you, but this just doesn't feel aligned.
Is it okay if I chime in?
Jeffrey,
with one
for
thing?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did this, I created a little a checklist for friendships back in the day, about a year or two ago. And it applies to relationships as well. And it's basically there's what I view as 4 different ingredients, or I guess nutrients, I like to call them, for a friendship. And then for a friendship to have. And the same thing applies to romantic stuff. But I'll just briefly list them. And so it's one way to maybe track in your explanation for yourself, at least, to see if a connection is worth investing in, right? And so the first one is resonance, is similar to the frequency. Is there a resonance with values, with interests? You know, do our life paths seem to be in alignment, right? And then the next one is consistency. Are you and them showing up in a consistent way? You know, are you the one always reaching out? Are they the one always reaching out? Is it balanced? Is there an ebb and a flow to whatever that looks like? There's no right or wrong, like whether it's daily or weekly. So resonance, consistency, reciprocity, consistency, yeah. And then reciprocity is another one too. They're similar, but they're different. Reciprocity in terms of, do they reciprocate? Do they take an equal interest in you as well as you in them, right? And the last one is the level of intimacy. Like, how close are you to them? Are you vulnerable with them, but they're not vulnerable with you, right? And so I think it's a great kind of way to just take a look, not to overanalyze it, but like look at, you know, resonance, reciprocity, consistency, and intimacy in your friendships, and also in a dating scenario. Like, hey, are we in the shared values around all these different areas?
It's your red flag list.
It's kind of, yeah, well, it's a red flag, but yeah, there's definitely more to the red flag list. But it's more of like, hey, these are the basics. You got to have at least these. And yes, there's like other ingredients for a romantic partnership, like, you know, sexual chemistry and all those kinds of things. But I don't know if that helps add some dimensionality to what.
Yeah. Adding respectful language around what could be a very cliched 90s rom-com, so-and-so's not good enough for you.
Yeah, you don't want to say, you know, it's not me, it's you, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then that was leading to the question of, when do you know if you're growing and that's a good thing versus hurting yourself by staying in some engagement.
Losing yourself in the relationship and not sure when to get out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're a specialist in that, Michelle. What's your advice?
Yeah, and it's an interesting fine line. I think the biggest challenge a lot of people, from my vantage point, what I've noticed, if we don't know what the purpose of relationships are, then we have the opportunity to have a really difficult time in them. And so from my belief, my perspective is relationships are designed for growth, for expansion, and to know yourself. And you can have joy in that and all the things in that. But if you look at growth, expansion, and knowing thyself, then when you do enter into a partnership, I like how you said, how do you know when you're growing and this is supporting you in your growth? And how do you know when it's time to get the heck out of there? And again, part of that, the work I do with my clients and in my courses is really about knowing yourself and trusting your intuition. When something feels like negative emotions, an indicator. And I think we all know that, you know, just kind of being in the personal growth and development space. When something feels off, a big thing is we usually don't trust ourselves in that. So I think developing and strengthening the trust muscle, trust in yourself. And, you know, my boyfriend says, trust, but verify. Trust yourself, but, you know, you may not want to just bail right away. You know, if you are in it for the growth and doing the work. And Abraham Hicks talks about this, another speaker in the industry. She says, you take yourself with you, right? So if we're experiencing a pattern in a relationship and we just like bail and we're like, I'm over it. Like, it's worth investing some of the time to take a deeper dive in to go, okay, was there growth in there? How can I support that? So the short answer is trusting yourself more. If something feels off, it probably is. And I feel like everyone on this call has probably had an instance in that where we've gotten a hit, something in our gut knew something was off, and we just, you know, I say you have your inner cheerleader and then you have your fear leader. The fear leader takes over.
I love that.
I'm a former cheerleader, so that's the pun on that. But, you know, I think that's something important to start listening to yourself too.
Like the 3 strikes, you're out, right? 3 negative emotions, 3 fear leader cheers, and you're like, bye. Let's move on to, thanks, Lily. One of the gentlemen, anyone got a great, thanks, Michelle, good advice.
Thanks, Jeffrey, for chiming in with that. That was good.
Yeah, I love a list. Love a list.
Good framework. I'm a framework queen. I love that, Jeffrey.
Totally. I mean, if I had a thought about putting a list that I do to my life in my love life, I would have bloody met my guy much sooner. But I think that I actually find that helpful to be able to go, is this wrong? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? Oh, massive red flag. I'm out. Love a list. Who's got a great question for Jeffrey? We'll do one of the guys now.
I got a question. Is that okay, guys? Can I take a
Please
hit at
do,
this?
Sam.
All right. I'm the Afghanistan guy, everybody.
We know who you are, Sam.
Well, for all the listeners out there.
Aw.
So I guess my question is, what can I do to create space in my life to find love? Because, during this coronavirus thing, I met this woman on a dating app, and we FaceTimed for a few weeks, and she was wonderful, amazing. She's, works in politics. I love politics. We had a lot to talk about, and yet I found myself like, I don't need any more friends in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have way too many friends. I love them, and we talk about stuff all the time. So I don't need someone to be a friend. I need someone to fall in love with. And I think especially now, it's hard, obviously, just to keep on a relationship because you can't see them. There's no intimacy. But at the same time, like, that was happening before too, where I would go on dates with people, and it just felt exhausting. It felt like, all right, great, this conversation's going, but I sort of felt myself just pulling back a little bit and not feeling excited to reach out because I didn't, and yet at the same time, I didn't feel, for some reason, I don't know where this point in my life, or whether I feel too comfortable or it's been too long, the intimacy thing. I'm also not like lunging at that, I'm not saying, oh, I want to get you in bed, and I think before that, in some instances, does work. That's sort of like me pursuing a woman with all my guns blazing. It's a bad metaphor, sorry. Sometimes works, right? And then you sort of work on the relationship after that. Whereas I'm just really confused right now because I don't want to do that anymore. I don't feel the desire to do that anymore, to like the physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build that, but then building it seems exhausting.
The question is, how do you make space?
Yeah. So how do I make space in my life to find love where I'm excited again to like do that,
Jeffrey?
Yeah, and when you say space, does it mean more of like a similar to James, like around the lifestyle? Like, do you have a lot of your plate is full, or just space energetically in yourself?
Space energetically, I can fit someone in. That's not the right way to think about it, obviously, either. But like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't need an emotional support. I don't need any more friends.
Yeah.
But I do want love. But then, you know what I mean? So
yeah. So, well, yeah, it's a common thing, right? Like, where I think with, and I'm sure Michelle would probably agree around this, like, you want to be tracking both, the chemistry and the compatibility at the same time. And so if we focus too much on compatibility but not tracking the chemistry, you'll have a really good friendship. You'll be in the friend zone. You'll have a good partner, activity buddy. You track just the chemistry, but you don't really bring any awareness around the compatibility. You're going to have a really hot, spicy fling, but it'll burn out, right? In terms of longevity. And so I think tracking those two things and knowing what those mean to you, right? Because compatibility for each of us is different, right? What I'm looking for a partner or what I was looking for is different than what you are, and vice versa. So I think that's a big piece, is to look at that. And the other piece is, I'm curious, how much sexual romantic energy do you bring in these interactions with these women so that they are clear that that's the context you're looking at them through?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer to that question is hardly any, honestly. Like,
okay. I was like that.
So I get into these really interesting conversations. I'm engaged. I'm there. I'm present. But I'm just, I don't bring the real flirty stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be like the flirtastic, man, but now
I love that word.
And I think it can be a thing. And I'm what's the ugly duckling? What is it? What's your name? Is there?
It's Sonalii Castillo.
What is it?
Sonalii.
Sonalii?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, like similar to me, like I'm half Brazilian, and so like I grew up in the Brazilian culture, and so I know both, right? I can know the duality of that. And so for me, like I would always go back and forth between being the, Casanova, like really romantic person, and then swing the pendulum to the very heart-centered, nice, gentleman, and I think it's that integration of the two that I think is an edge for a lot of men that I coach, you know, that we coach. And it's bringing that, like I call it head, heart, and balls, right? You want to have your head, you know, you want to bring your heart and balls.
Hashtag.
If it's all balls, you're like an asshole, you know, maybe great in bed. If it's all heart, you're like a soft, nice guy, you know, cuddly, right? But you want to bring both, right? Or all three rather. And you want to bring your head to be able
Or
to
all
determine
four.
between two. What's that?
I said, or all four. It's a shit joke. I'm sorry. Moving on.
yeah, all four. So yeah, and that's an edge, I think, you know, especially, you know, obviously with, you know, you want to bring integrity and respect with the whole Me Too thing and all of that. There's that level. You want to be seen as like a creepy guy or sleazy or pushy or whatever. But and that's where practice comes in. That's where, you know, obviously getting a mentor or coach or somebody to help you get that experience. But I think that's an edge, I think, that might be one to explore for you, is how to bring the flirtation and the sexual energy while still bringing your heart there. So it's both. You know, and one thing too is like, and this is an article that I wrote many years ago that went viral of sorts. And basically it was the one question that you should never have to ask on a date, right? And the question is this a date?
Right.
So if one of the women, if the man or the woman or the man and the man or whatever, whoever the pairing is asking themselves, is this a date? I don't know. I'm not sure. You're off on the wrong foot.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when I teach men, I say, you know, hey, when you ask a woman out, you say, I want to take you on a date. When are you free next week?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's crystal effing clear that it is a date. And what does that do? It gives, you know, I'm not saying this is for your problem, but I'm just saying it's a demonstration of leadership and ownership of your intention. They're like, hey, I am looking at you as a romantic / sexual possibility. Do you see that as well enough to go on a date with me in that context? Versus, let's go out for coffee. Let's, you know, hop on FaceTime, or let's just get a tea or a drink, or, you know, because that could be go either way. And that's similar to, I think, I forget your name again. I'm going to say it again. Sonalii. You know, oh yeah, this is a date in my mind as a guy, let's say, but then when it's not going well, okay, let's split it now. To like, you know, right? Versus like, hey, it's a date, just pay for it, you cut your losses, it's part of the deal, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think just having that level of, and as a woman, the woman I tell these to, and I'm sure some of the women here probably, like, it feels good to know that, like, hey, this is a date. It gives the woman agency to say, hey, I am responding to this knowing what I'm getting into, right? And then as the guy, it's like, it feels great. Like, wow, she said yes to a date. So I know it's a date. She knows it's a date. There's possibilities here. Mm-hmm. Versus like, let's get coffee and then, you know, and then also gives you permission and freedom to bring that, like, because here's the thing, for longest time, I would go on these coffee dates that I would hope it's a date. Then I would bring this flirtatious sexual energy, and then it'd be kind of weird because she thought it was like a business, you know, coffee or like colleagues or friends, right? So, and that's where like the authenticity and the integrity piece comes in around all this, like owning your desire, owning your intentions, and then allowing her the freedom to be who she is, and then tracking that and responding to that. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mean, I'd like to give the opportunity to other people to chime in with their questions, but I'm very good. You know, I'm confident enough in myself that I do very, very clearly communicate my intentions. So that I learned that lesson myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's a great lesson to learn. It's the most awkward thing in the world, being like, wait a second. So I'm very, very communicative about that. And also at the end of a date, like if I am attracted to someone, you know, and also you brought the Me Too movement, I'm very, very, very supportive of women's rights. I'm making a film about women's rights right now. And so I'm very cognizant of that. So I actually verbalize everything. So I say, I'm very attracted to you. I've had a great date. I'm very attracted to you. May I kiss you? And it feels weird and it doesn't work a lot. So I'm like, and I can sense like this, like, man, I should be more of a man about this, but it's like, it's just how I roll these days, you know?
Can I ask you a question, Sam?
Yeah.
What's exhausting about it? You mentioned that a couple of times, the words, it's exhausting.
That's a good point. I think, I think I just talk a lot all the time with my friends and everything. So like talking about stuff with a woman these days is I feel like I'm all talked out in my life right now. You know what I mean? And like I'm not looking for that emotional support. I'm looking for like, I don't know. Exhausting is the wrong word. Maybe it's a cover for me being wary of getting hurt. Maybe I'm not committing enough because I'm just sheltering myself and closing myself off to that possibility. I could be doing that psychologically in my own head. I don't know if exhausting is the right word, but
With the right woman, I doubt if it would be exhausting for you, Sam. The right one, right? How do we find her?
Well, here
it might not be because women are exhausting, obviously.
Sure, no. So a tip that try it on for size, see if it resonates. Because your question specifically was, how do I create space in my life for love? Mm-hmm. Indicating you have a desire for it, but it's got to feel right? Something I did when I was attracting my partner, I leveraged energy. We understand, thought plants the seed, emotion energizes the feeling, energizes it. So what I did, I got really tactile with it. I wanted to create space for love, but I had walls around me too, especially coming out of a divorce, 7 years in a relationship. But I wanted to create something that that wouldn't exhaust me, that wouldn't be kind of not a vibrational match, like Lily was saying earlier. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I got really tactile with it. I utilized all my senses. So at night, I would roll up one of those cozy soft blankets, and I would wrap it around me. Now, for me, I was envisioning the man. For you, it might be a pillow you're spooning the woman with. I pulled out of a magazine cologne that resonated with me. For you, it would be perfume. Put it next to my pillow at night when I slept. The olfactory glands were being activated. Obviously, I had my vision boards, music. It's our state, changing our state around it. So I would listen to music that put me in a specific emotional state, because honestly, I had to train myself into creating space for love because I was a little bit jaded coming out of it. So just some tips. I don't know if that resonates with you, but really leveraging all your senses to activate that.
It does. Yeah. So I'm not looking for a friend. So I think.
Yeah. Like the tap into that frequency of romance and love and flirtation. And then the last piece, and then we can go to someone else. But I like what she said around that too, like the playlist or the tactile, the five senses. That's great.
Yeah.
And then the one thing is, there's a sense of like a desire that I have for you to do whatever work you need to do or uncovering, to have you just be like a relaxed presentation of like, this is me, this is Sam, and also like, I'm not going to do it perfectly. Give yourself permission to I'm not going to be this perfect specimen of a man in every single moment. And just, this is the full expression of me, and waiting for that woman that's going to be that's going to, the things that I'm quirky as fuck about with Vanessa, my wife, it's a peas in a pod. It's perfect, but it would never get to that point if I was still hesitant. Oh, I can't really be myself. Literally, I was a quirky, weird dude on our first date. I have nothing to lose here. Right. So, but yeah, just does that land?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
May I chime in and just say that, Sam, consent is super sexy, and asking a girl if she would like to have a kiss from you.
Yeah, I would kiss you, saying that. I was like, yes.
You're good, thanks.
I love being asked. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I would also say and maybe it's a thing of you do the verbal thing if you as a thing, and then maybe bring in the energy. So it's almost like the words are after the energy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wait. Can I? And you're already on the lips.
So she'll know that you're about to add. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's hot. Totally hot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. We were talking.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Sonalii, we were talking a bit about bringing your name up. Is that a good cue to move on to you? Do you have a question you want to ask in particular? We don't have to go to you if it's not the right time.
No, I'm listening to everybody because I didn't go into the whole detail of my divorce. Don't need to do that.
We're moving forward. No, we're not going to stay with that shit. Who's next?
My thing, like I told you, is I'm Dominican, like a Santo Domingo, born in the Dominican Republic with old-fashioned parents. They moved to France, and people in Europe were very different than coming to America, and what the fuck. So I just don't know. This dating game, these single women telling me, don't ever tell a guy what you want. You can't tell them whatever in the first date. And then I see all those relationships fail.
Incorrect.
Because they weren't honest with the person. So for me, just having all these single people, which by the way, I just don't even listen to them anyway, but giving me all these different advice. I'm like, but you're so single. And then all my married friends getting it right, but they've been out of this stupid game for so long. And I'm here, I'm like playing double dutch. Do I jump in? Do I not? Do I jump in? Do I not? I'm like, I don't know how to date. I didn't date. I never dated. It just met the person, we hit it up and we went.
So what's a question? Let's ask a question about someone who knows, not your single friends that don't know what they're talking about.
Like, how the hell do people date? I don't even, this date, like I told you, I'm confused. It's like, with men, it's like, wait, are you taking me on a date to get to know me, or you just think you're gonna get lucky because you're buying me dinner tonight? I'm like in a hole. I've been hiding for 4 years.
You don't even know how to start. You want to know how to start this.
Yes!
Okay, all right. Michelle, how do we start this for her? There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So how do we do the step, chill it out, and just take a really strong step forward? I don't know anything, but does that sound about right?
Yes. It's a place to start.
Right?
I know. Sonalii, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot of fire in your energy around it. And permission to be blatant and blunt. That there's power in that. And there's a story. There's a story that you may be telling yourself about men that could be rooted in something deeper. Something I've put up walls in the past. And I mean, a lot of women I work with, we're powerhouses, we're badasses, we're creating results, and we expect certain things. We love ourselves. We love, not a requirement to have it, but it's, maybe a desire or an ability, inspiration to have the desire to have that partner in.
Yeah.
And for me, at a deeper level, I had an unconscious belief, paradigm, story. I told myself unconsciously that men disappoint me. And that played out in everything. And I was confused as crap. Why do I keep manifesting things that are, not aligned? And so number one, with that fire, with that kind of that anger energy in there, that's worth exploring. Taking a look at what really is aggravating you. Because what happens is if you're aggravated by the dating game in general, we stay in what's called, you stay in a certain emotional state. It could be aggravation. It could be frustration. So when you go on a date, you're already bringing that energy with you kind of to the table. So I'd say you have a great question, and especially if you're how do you date? I think communication is key, and everyone's going to have their own way of being. If your single friends are don't tell them what you want, I'm not an advocate of that. I think number one, tell yourself what you want first.
Yes.
So my question would be, do you have a list or a love journal, or just have you done a brain dump of, okay, universe, this is what I desire? Good. The next step is, have you done a brain dump of what you don't want, just so that you can get it off your chest?
I didn't write it down because I believe in energy, and I don't want to tell the universe what I don't want. I just want to tell the universe what I do want.
Have you written that down?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have a list, vision board. I'm coming out of 4 years. It's just it's just, I want to be happy. I want to give someone a chance. It's just, to be honest with you, it's the same thing. It's there's a lot of fear with I'm at an age now that I don't want to waste my time. And at the same time, I know that I shouldn't think that way. So
don't shoot on yourself.
Your heart. I feel, don't shoot on yourself, but I feel your heart. And I know at the deeper layer, when we have anger, usually anger is a cover up for something deeper, which is usually sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Ultimately, there's different layers of what cover up emotions. But my recommendation, there's something called the shadow, and maybe some of you have experienced this. Your ego, not in the negative ego way, but your ego is everything you think you are, everything you say you are, how you show up. We wear personas and masks when we show up to match our ego persona. The persona matches who we think we are. What happens is your shadow will activate. Your shadow is everything you think and say that you're not. And the more adamant and venomous you are of saying, I am not this, it activates your shadow. meaning you either observe it in your reality, you attract it in a relationship, or you become it and you live it yourself. So something to consider, my recommendation would be, you've got your list. A lot of spiritual light leader people like us do that. We're like, we don't want to tell the universe what we don't want. We just want to say what we do want, because if we say what we don't want, like, that's going to come to pass. But here's the deal. If you push something down or suppress it, the shadow gets activated. So the recommendation would be, create a space. You could light a candle. You could say, okay, thank you, universe. I'm going to give myself the latitude and the space to just be honest with full spectrum, all sides of me, the light, the dark, what's coming up, what I want, what I don't want, just for clarity's sake. Thank you, create the space. And so what I would do in pencil or black ink, I'm an advocate of write down your dreams in blue ink, and then in whatever you don't want, take a separate piece of paper, write it down in pencil or black ink. Just allow yourself to drop into your heart center and be clear about, okay, what don't I prefer? Let's get clear about that. Once you do that list in pencil or black ink, go to the list of the things you do want and transcribe each of the things you say you didn't want, transcribe it to its positive, what you do want. So now you've gotten it out. You're now seeing in full quantum. You're not shutting off aspects of yourself, denying, because that's where that anger is coming from. And I feel you, girl. Like, you've got that fire energy, and men will feel it when you go on a date and you've got kind of like repressed energy around it. So at least if you give yourself a space to say, this is not what I prefer, and I'm going to write it in what I do want, and then burn that sheet, rip it up, but just be okay, like, knowing that, and then create a new story. Create a new story around, first of all, I'll ask you, do you believe it's possible that you could attract a man that fits you? Okay. So that's good. That's always a good question, because sometimes I'll ask people and they're like, you know what, Michelle, I don't even think it's possible. And I had a client recently. I mean, she's a badass. She loves herself fully. And her thing was, I don't think I'm going to ever meet a man that can be up to my caliber. And I was like, well, do you exist? And she laughed. She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, if you exist, then he must exist. So hopefully that helps.
That helps so much.
Good.
That's something new to do. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Love that. That's that Lily too. The caliber. You know, there's some pretty high-end men and women who have got to like meet you, but they are out there. I totally believe that.
Yeah, I have a post that I did that I basically, the idea that your next partner, they farted today.
Yeah.
Like, they are out there. Like, they literally, the person you're going to meet next to be in a relationship with is living out there somewhere. And so it's a reminder, a humorous reminder that, like, they're out there living their life like you are, and then you are doing the work to get to meet each other virtually or in person, and like they're doing the same things that you're doing, and then they're gonna thank, God, universe, that you did the work to meet them just as much as they did the work to meet you.
I love that.
So, yeah, but yeah, like believing that they're out there.
Jimi Dava, if I may turn to you, your belief not turning to you. Because she is out there. No, I wonder what Jeffrey's thoughts might be about that. What's the advice here?
Can you come back to me?
Yes.
I have a situation here that I can't really talk about right now.
Understood. Okay. All right. Oh, understood.
And like hopefully in a couple minutes we could talk.
Okay, understood. All right, cool. There's another girl, an ex-girlfriend, who happens to be sitting next to him, so we can't have that conversation about the other one.
So James, I loved in the beginning, you were talking about like needing to cut through the noise and the chatter and kind of this lifestyle that you lead and in Hollywood and the kind of the chaos of life and all that. But you said you were looking for, I think, something more stable. Like, how do you create the stability that you desire in a relationship? Have you ever had it? Or have you ever observed it in someone else or within your own relationship?
Yeah. I've had a couple. Hearing everybody share was pretty amazing, and thank you guys for the vulnerability going on. It's hard to share sometimes. It's easier said than done, but it got me thinking about my past relationships. And I feel like I might not have even got off to the right got off on the right foot. I feel like maybe I was avoiding, like, I've dated a few really good women, like solid, right? And I think maybe some subconscious things came into play and had me sabotage or push them away, you know, because I've had a little bit of stability for sure. And, but I mean, my life right now, I do love it. I love it. And I kind of love a little chaos sometimes, you know. It keeps things, it keeps your eyes open, you know, it keeps things moving forward. And I've started wondering, like, what with me could be the issue, possibly, you know. It's got me thinking, like, the gears are turning. And, you know, like, it takes two to tango, right? You can't just always put the blame over there or on that person. Sometimes you gotta, like, you know, kind of like turn the camera around and see what's up with you. But easier said than done, right?
Something, I love that. Something that jumped out for me earlier with your story. First, amazing. Yes, take personal responsibility. We're all co-creating. Like, everyone's reading off of the script of each other, and our script is our energy, it's our frequency, it's our paradigms, it's our beliefs, it's our values. And so we all are playing this amazing role on the grandest stage ever, the biggest, you know, play or movie to exist. So, you know, giving ourselves grace when we're growing through something, I think, is key. And taking the introspective look at, like, okay, how could I have played that part? I'm not a big advocate of, like, oh, I've got to fix myself. I've been through that stage. And I realize it's not about fixing. Every opportunity we get is a call for evolution. It's a call to rise. It's a call to decide who we choose to be in this now moment. And so you were talking a bit of what I heard from what I remember about, there were some unconscious or beliefs that were embedded in your speech when you were talking, kind of just about the life that you lead, and, like, you know, the busyness, and, you know, not necessarily being able to, and I don't know the world in Hollywood and what we'll call it truth or reality is for you, because everyone is just living their own truth. My recommendation would be, would you be open to consider writing a new truth for you? Even though everyone in Hollywood might have crazy busy schedules, like, could you start to give rise and birth a new vision for yourself and start to flirt in the realm of rewriting a story? If you do choose love, you feel called and you have that desire to have love in your life, like, would you be open to just playing with some new stories?
Yeah, narratives, a new narrative. Yeah, I am. I'm totally open to that. Always looking to better myself and get some new perspectives on life and people around me and relationships. Yeah, I would totally be open to that.
Good. Yeah, because that was something I had to do early on when I first researched, like, twin flames and all that. I didn't like the story behind twin flames. I liked the idea of it. I liked the name. I was like, this is sort of like the relationship I'm attracting. But there was other parts of it that I'm like, that doesn't resonate. And honestly, I don't want to create that. So I'm going to have to just put the blinders on, like tunnel vision, and create a new story or truth around that. And so you may want to, play with different narratives for you're the guy, you're the leader in Hollywood that, like, manifests relationships that are smooth and easy. And would it be okay if she just showed up?
Mm-hmm.
If you just met her, would it be okay? Like, if there was flow to it, not that it has to be that way, but, you know, it's just even catching ourselves. I'm trained in linguistics, so I'm always listening to our paradigms, our belief systems, which come through our speech.
Lisa, I'm fascinated by your situation, actually, because I was so excited to have you here sharing about, or from the point of view that you are totally whole. You are not like many of my single friends who are, you know, for want of a better word, they're desperate. You are totally complete and totally whole. And how do we invite the guy? He's just got to turn up at your foot on your doorstep and go, "Hi, I'm blah blah blah," and you're like, "Let's get married." So, you know, what's the advice on?
I mean, I do believe in the possibility. In fact, I said it just the other day. It only takes a moment to make change.
Yes.
Right? I do believe in the possibility, and I've had the experience of walking around a corner.
Yes.
There you go. Right. So I do believe that that's possible. there are so many echoes for me and so many things that people have been talking about it and asking their questions. And one of the things that I started to process a little bit, even in what you were saying, Michelle, with Sonalii, is recognizing how much my framework around relationships changed. And that in the amount of time since my marriage until now, I really have, I joke a lot that it's looking at the world sideways, but my worldview has changed profoundly. And so part of it, I think, is recognizing and allowing myself to get a little clear on what a romantic relationship is to me now. And,
That's powerful.
And how that plays out and because I think for a really long time, and this may be common, but that, there are those things in your life that you sort of do because now it's time. Like as I move through living, I go to school and then I finish school. And then if I go to post-secondary, then I go to school and then I get a job. And then this is when I get married, and then these things happen. And there was a period of my living where I sort of like followed that train and then was like, fuck the train, and sort of threw all that out and really realized that's not my perspective. That's not how I move through the world. It's not how I want to move through the world. And so then how do I want to move in a relationship in the world? And what does that look like if it isn't defined the way that I may have unconsciously not even chosen to define it in the past? And I do know too that one of the things that happens to me a lot in my living, and T, you know this well, is that I am in the role of the teacher a lot. And I was taught, my mother very much is the servant. So the teacher and those who serve others, it's a really married role, And so a lot of times what's happened to me in more recent times is that I'm in a conversation and I think that we're having a conversation about how we look at things in the world and perspective and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I watch their eyes change and I just said something that I'm like, oh, now I look at the world sideways, and I think I blew your mind a little bit, and now I just became your teacher.
Ugh.
Because I just said something that is new or different or just hasn't been contemplated. And that's my whole life, because that's what I do in my living, is look at the world sideways and teach techniques about doing that. So, there's something in there that I just even in listening that I'm realizing, not how am I moving out of the times when I slip into my compensation pattern of being the teacher, because that's comfortable. I know how to do that role. And also, what do relationships look like for me? Like, what do I actually want that to be? Particularly in romance.
That's a great awareness.
About that.
That's great.
Yeah.
You can answer your own questions. That's for sure.
In my framework
for thoughts and stuff too. Those are just what came to me. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. My framework that I work with women on is clarity, confidence, communication, and it's confidence. We have varying levels. Whenever we might be at the top of one game, but when we go to start a new game, we're at the bottom. So it's developing that confidence again in certain areas, or if you felt like you were burned or had a challenging time, or had trauma with something. And then the communication. I'm an NLP master practitioner, and we teach the first line of communication is first with self. Like NLP is about communicating with self and others, your unconscious mind, and then being able to communicate with others. So I love that you had that awareness. If you were to wave a magic wand, Lisa, how would you exist in a relationship? Just paint me the perfect, off the cuff.
I'm laughing because I do have a wand.
Oh, is it accessible? Do you have it?
But yeah, if I had a magic wand, how would it function? And I think part of it is that's the thing. it's not having to arrive and it already being happening in a relationship. It's the journey to get there. That's the trickier part for me.
So okay,
right?
so
I don't know entirely what that is yet, because that's when I'm realizing, oh, what do relationships look like for me now? What do I want that relationship to be like? What is a role of a romantic relationship in my living? Because partnership, as I said, I know well. I have like partners in my life who are going to be lifelong partners in particular things that are not romantic at all. But what do I want that romantic thing to look like? But then it's being willing to go from here to there, right? Like not to have to be there.
Yeah, and so here's a fun exercise. Sometime today or tomorrow, grab that magic wand, sit down. Like I have a crown. I have to wear different hats. I'm coach all the time, but I put my crown on, and some of these guys have seen it. You know, Jeffrey and Teresa have seen my crown because I put my crown on to step into a new role, you know, play a new part so that I can then get clear. So grab your wand and journal from that space. Get into whatever that fun, magical space is. You don't have to know it and you have to know the how, but maybe see if that feels good. Jeffrey, did you have anything you wanted to share with Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier around, you know, am I just, I forget what you said, something around like, am I setting a pattern of self-defense? Am I just content and how to like navigate? I guess.
Yeah. Ensuring that in my contentment, it isn't also just habit or defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd like to check in with the fact that, am I truly good like this, or am I avoiding the vulnerability involved in terms of going back into a relationship? I like that question.
Yeah, and that's kind of a thing I think I've seen with women. You know, they have this thing. I don't need a man. I want to be independent. You know, not to say this is your situation, but like that kind of idea that I'm okay as I am. And then if so, that energy, if it's there and that completeness, there's no space for a man to enter into. And so I like to reframe it as, I am great. You know, I'm content. I'm happy. I'm thriving in all these areas. The foundation of my life is good. And I am available for a man to come in and join me in this ride. Right. Even the same thing, you know, changing the term like, oh, I'm single, like versus I'm available. I'm available for partnership.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so anyways, is anything coming up for you around that?
No, that's well, as you were saying that, I thought of, I've been having a lot of conversation lately about holding duality.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
That we are, and back to what you were saying, Michelle, about we are that vastness, we are the darkness and the light, that we are the whole thing. It's not either or. So that resonated with me, that statement of I can be totally complete and also be available.
Mm-hmm.
They're not dualities. They're not opposites.
Totally.
I can contain all of that at the same time.
Yeah.
Observation just came up for me too. It was interesting that, and I wonder if you've done this. Do you know exactly who he is, what he looks like, how powerful that man is? And in that relationship, you would never be the teacher. You would be revealed to be the feminine, to be the softer, to even be taught by him. Like you say that the journey is what's stopping you, and you're not sure that you want to get to that. But I wonder if you've created like clearly him, like who is he?
No, I'm not good at, I do resist vision boards.
But you don't have to put it on a board. You can just in it.
I resist them because I feel like, you've heard me talk about this, T, I feel like vision boards are having the future be a wall, and then there's a Lisa-shaped hole. That's and I have to like aim perfectly for that Lisa-shaped hole. I'm going to lose my arm or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's bullshit. So I like to look at desire as, like I said earlier, inspiration, like the wind at my back, and the things that I do in my living that are about self-development and possibility are me spreading my wings. And that desire carries me into open sky of limitless possibility and not a fucking Lisa-shaped hole.
Got it.
So I have not defined, and even if you look at my past relationships, there's no type.
But there's quality.
Yeah. But there isn't,
and feeling.
quality.
And do you like music, Lisa?
Do I like music? I do.
Do you have something you could do, kind of like, I think I was telling Sam about this, find music that puts you in an emotional state that you think would match being with that partner. So it doesn't have to have he doesn't have to have the specific characteristics, but it's just leveraging the feeling, and you don't have to wait to leverage a feeling. You can just create a playlist, a really juicy playlist that gets you in state. And when you listen to it, you can soar with your wings and like it's limitless. And yet you can still tap into the frequency of, this is how I choose to feel with my partner.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Jimmy Dava, thank you for that too, by the way, Lisa and Michelle and Jeffrey. Jimmy Dava, no, still not good?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Are you all right?
No, just so everybody understands, this is an ex-girlfriend of mine that we're dear, dear friends. I just know she has some feelings for me, and I don't want to say anything to have her feel bad in any way. So,
of course.
But
do you have a general
question for the both of? I have a question for the both of you, because I want to get the male and the female perspective on this. When I was 18, I'll tell you, but I was 18, I fell in love with a woman, and I was with her for 9 years. It was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. I was happy. I was with her till I was 27, and I lost her to heroin. I didn't know she was on it. I was lied to every day for 2 years. I think after that, I wouldn't let anybody really close to me because I already knew what love felt like. And the minute I saw something that I didn't like or wasn't going to reach that or higher, like, I was out. And it took me a long time to even allow people to touch me in a way because I just wasn't comfortable. And then I moved out to LA, and just everything kind of changed, and I decided to give myself another chance and try and love people and try and be open and try. And I've dated a lot of people, and I've been in the last maybe 6-7 years, I've been in 3 2.5-year relationships each. But at the onset, I knew that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and I was in control of those relationships. This girl that I met, it was just like, wow. Like, my heart, my mind, my body, my soul. Like, I know this person. I've been with her for lifetimes. It was immediate. And whatever happened with us, it happened, and I still don't understand. And the thing is that she shut off communication with me just like that. And this is after her telling me, she can't imagine her life without me, and we have all these plans and like life and friendship and unconditional love and all this and all that. I think my question is, when do you know to fight for somebody versus let them go? Because in my heart of hearts, I've never felt more connected with a human being in a very long time. So how do I know? Am I wrong? Was what I'm feeling wrong? Is the certainty that I feel in my heart, like the fact that this is, I hope I'm asking the right question so you guys can understand. I don't know what to do.
Jeffrey,
do you want to?
Yeah.
You want to take this first?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So honestly, man, yeah, it's a powerful journey you've been on, both earlier and then also now. And as far as, the question, so what I'm understanding is that this recent love that you're heartbroken over, she just kind of, like, her nervous system kind of got fried and she just bailed. Is there like a reason that or she just went MIA for no reason? You don't know the reason.
So when I first met her, we went out, we spent 3 days together, 3 days, 3 nights, had the best 3 days. On the last day, she was going to Cabo for her girlfriend's 50th and then to New York. So when I dropped her off and I said, "Oh, what's in Cabo?" She told me, and I said, "Oh, what's in New York?" And then she said, "Well, I have to be honest with you. I never saw you coming. I didn't expect you, but I'm dating someone in New York." So there was a guy, but I knew that already after 3 days, and I was done after the moment I saw her. So all these 3 days, in my head, I was like, fuck, I wish you told me that this was a situation. You shouldn't have even come out with me.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, it was just, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's out of town, long distance. I don't know what their situation is. And I was just the asshole who thought, you know, I could overcome this and I could be more and I could be better. And, you know, I don't know what I was thinking actually, but I just thought that I fucking love this woman, and I was maybe willing to put up with things that I might have should not have even allowed. And I still was somehow okay with it. I still was somehow okay with it.
So question, how do you move on?
So how do I move on, or do I fight for her?
So
crazy. I am.
Yeah.
I think
What
about
you
her
got,
every
Jeffrey?
moment of every day.
Yeah. One, like I resonate at least 2 times in my life. I've had similar stories to you, where like a woman head over heels with a woman, and then she's not available, mixed messages, you know, mixed energy with other men. And so for me, you know, what I've learned from that, and just in general from what you're sharing, I would go back to like similar to what I shared with James around like the foundation and like how do you get back to your center?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you talk about this woman, I sense a leaping energy. Like I'm going, you know, like you're like, and it can be romantic in a sense, but for me, what I would want to see for you, or my desire for you, would be like, hey, here's who I am. I'm fucking awesome in my value. I'm going to stick a claim in the ground for what I'm wanting in a woman. And this woman is not demonstrating the things that I'm wanting. And then whether she comes around or not. And then also so that if and when she does come around, if that ever happens, that you are crystal fucking clear in your value and what you are willing to tolerate and no longer, and in her, and create a solid container for a relationship. That you're bringing this leadership and this energy of groundedness, that you're not, I guess the energy, the way I describe it is like that you don't leave yourself to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
That you are present fully for yourself and taking care of yourself and valuing yourself in a way that like you're not tolerating anything from her.
No suffering.
And as far as, and so like, it's the minute like to say whether you should chase, you know, go after her or all that stuff. I mean, that's all obviously your choice to make. And there's also power and choice in saying, hey, I'm going to focus on me, and then whatever happens with her. Does that make sense? Or what?
That makes sense.
I know it makes sense. I don't think it's easy. I know I've been in your shoes, man. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? Like, oh, let me just like shift my focus, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been there. I've known what I wanted for a long time, you know, and I know what I accept. I don't feel like I'm leaping necessarily.
Sure.
It's just that I feel like now there's a huge thing missing, because when I met her, I felt like someone said twin flame, twin souls. It was like that. It's very hard for me to explain the magic around this. So, you know, I don't know if I should go fight for her and to what extremes, because I'm a very extreme person. Like I will do some mad shit in my life, and I've done that, and I love that because that's who I am. I believe in something, I do it, I'll follow it. I just like and here's the thing is I'll share a quick story for me. Like I did an experience where I was dated a woman, fell head over heels. She moved away, and then I flew across the world to go claim her and do this romantic thing. I'm gonna show up there and then I'm gonna whisk her away and then show her how awesome I am and have her, you know, fall in love with me again, and we're gonna be back together. It didn't work, but in that I learned that it's almost like having that high level of discernment. Like it's almost like a high value man has a high level of discernment of who he's looking for and what he's willing to tolerate in a woman. And so whether it's with her or the next woman that you were with, that like going back and reverse engineering, okay, obviously availability and full on commitment to the monogamy of the relationship is like standard number one that you're wanting in a woman, right? Like any red flags, any weird signs, any leaky energy, like cool, done, not what I'm looking for. And then I want to have, Michelle chime in too, but that's just my sense of things that like, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but it just definitely, whatever you do, you act from a place of centeredness in yourself. And then all things being equal, what are you wanting in a relationship? And it goes back to even what I was sharing
with Lily around, there's a high level of resonance with this woman, it sounds like, when you are together, but there's not a level of consistency and there's not like a reciprocity. And so that's 2 out of 4 that she's not even at the base level is not demonstrating. And that's kind of like, you need to have 4 minimum for any type of solid friendship or solid relationship. And so without reciprocity and without consistency, she's kind of like got 2 strikes against her. Now, again, like, yeah. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. But I want Michelle's take.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Can I just jump in? This is Sam, the Afghanistan guy, real quick. I think. Sorry, I'm before Michelle. You take this thing. Jimmy's one of my best friends, and I just want to say, Jimmy, dude, like, she knocked you off your feet, man, and I hate seeing you this way.
Me too.
Like, Jim, you were pretty shattered, man, and I'm like, I don't want that to happen to you again. So I just care about you, and I feel like, for me, I would like to see you, be whole, and I just love you, man. So,
love you too, buddy.
That's beautiful.
Love it.
Jimmy, thank you for your vulnerability and your openness, and thank you for sharing the backstory from when you were younger too. That was, there's a lot of energy there too, and as it sounded like you had grown through that, now when you started opening yourself up and then experiencing this relationship, I respect that. I respect what you're feeling. Relationships are not necessarily easy, right? And they come in all forms and shapes, and the growth we experience, it can break us open at times too. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this. When you think about that woman, Jimmy, when you think about her, does she represent something that you've lost, that's been taken from you, or that you gave away?
Yeah, I think she represents, like, I don't want to settle down with anyone. I want to go rob a bank with you. Like, I want to go on the wild. Like, I don't want to have a cul-de-sac house. I don't want to have that picket fence. I want to have, like, an adventure in my life. And she is smart and talented and strong and magic, just like, yes. And we have the greatest fucking adventures. And it felt like I was young again. Like, everything was possible. And, climbing trees and dancing to, like, Al Green by a garbage dumpster, and, like, spending, like, mornings on top of rooftops, howling at the moon, and just, like, things that I haven't experienced in other relationships, because they were very traditional relationships, the other ones. And this one was, like, the freedom. Like, she was, like, that partner. Let's go Bonnie and Clyde this world. Let's go create magic. Like, she was just that. She's a freedom for me.
So freedom was, do you feel like freedom was taken away, was lost, or was stolen from you at some point in your younger life?
Yeah, I think when my ex, Danielle, kind of lied to me for 2 years, and I wound up, like, supporting her habit. I didn't even know, because she wasn't, like, shooting it. Like, she just suddenly all of a sudden didn't have money, and I just kept doing this. I felt like I suffered a lot. I put it through 5 different rehabs, and I was almost like a prisoner to her condition.
That's the reason I ask is because relationships, there's mirrors. There were mirrors. I mean, our intimate relationships, our family relationships, everyone's a mirror in some fashion, form or fashion. And there, back in the day, like ancient Egypt times, there was teachings by the Essenes. They were called the Essenes. They were the ancient teachers in Egypt. So there was, and maybe some of you are familiar with it, there were 7 mirrors of human relationships that show up when you're in relationship to someone. And so the first one is usually like a one-to-one mirror. We're reflecting how we're being or how we're feeling in that moment. The second one is usually what we judge. So that's kind of where the shadow comes into place. Anything we judge can show up in a reflection. The third one is what you have an infatuation with, or this, like, the best way you described it a bit, the best way I could describe it is just this, like, magnetic, oh my God, what the F just, like, we've been together in past lives. Like, there's just that magnetism, that kind of infatuation, unbeknownst to why this is even happening. That mirror tends to be the mirror of something that we've lost, has been stolen from us, or that we gave away. And so I heard like freedom and innocence and jovialness and like happiness, like the things that you had before that happened with your ex. And so just having the awareness of, okay, she's reflecting something for you. Now, something I learned throughout the years is that, we fall in love to different levels. Sometimes it's that magnetic love, and sometimes it's not. It's varying degrees of love, but what's the common denominator? You are. Like, she reflected a best side of you, but it's within you. And I'm a big advocate of muscle memory. And this doesn't take the pain away, and this is not to take the pain away, but it's just to remind us all that if you have the ability to attract a person like that brings out the best in you, you have muscle memory. You are now at that frequency. There's nothing stopping you from calling in a partner better than you can imagine, whether that's her or someone better than you can imagine, because it's innate within you. And so if you dive and discover a little bit more about the what was lost, what did I lose, what was taken from me, what was stolen, if you feel into journaling or just thinking through it, you might find the gratitude and appreciation for what she's reflected for you, but also reminding yourself of your own power. It's come from within you. You literally could not have manifested her if you weren't those things. And not saying that people are dispensable, like you throw them away, but if it's not fully aligning, and this will get to your question of should you pursue or not, if it's not fully aligning and you are rooted in your values, kind of like what Jeffrey was talking about, you're rooted in what do you value? And like Lisa said earlier, you might have evolved and shifted throughout that. You might be at a new level that you might need to sit down and decide, what do I value? And all your value is just what is important to me in that area of life. So in love and relationships, it's a good exercise for everyone. What's important to me in love and relationships? And brain dump it. Ask yourself again, what else is important to me? Just brainstorm and then put it in numeric order. Like, what do you value? And then once you get anchored in that becomes the new set point for what you're available for, what you deserve. Because you do, you're amazing. You manifested that person in your life. You now have the muscle memory to do that again, whether it's her or someone else.
And Teresa and Sam and Will, we've been friends for 12 years now, and they've seen every single woman I've been with, whether it was for a night, a week, 2 months, 2 years, and they've all been amazing, amazing women. They're very cool women. And Teresa's befriended all of them. Thanks, T.
Yep.
And she keeps them around in my life.
Yeah. They're all great women. But none of them have made you happy. Except this one, who doesn't want to stay? From my point of view, I've been with every kind of man, from liar, cheater, abusive, drug addict, to, wondering if it's me, it's all my fault. And I just want to say that the one that is for you will be your best friend, will be your teacher. You'll want to have sex with them. You'll want to romp around the world with them. You'll want to dance with them by a dumpster. You'll want to, trust their entrepreneurship. You'll want to know that it's safe for you to be weird and be weirder still every day. You'll know that when you go on your first date, you can be completely you, shamelessly you, shamefully you. It doesn't matter. It will meet you head on, raise you up, take away all your fears, make you be a man and make you feel like a woman. And if it's not that, then fuck it off. It's out there for you, and I've found it, and you're all worthy of it. And thank you to, Michelle and Jeffrey for being a stand to make sure that people do understand this about themselves and fight for that. And I love this conversation, and I love that all of you have been here for this. And anyone who's listening, it starts with you and how you feel about yourself. And if anyone says anything to take that away from you, bye-bye to that person, because that's bullshit and that's not fair.
You're here, Teresa.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Love you, T.
Love you all for
guys.
being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you
for your
Teresa,
vulnerability.
Yeah. Thank you all for showing up, and thank you, Michelle, for joining me on this journey, and thank you for Teresa for inviting us.
Thanks for being here.
Ditto to that.
And thank you all.
I'll put you all in touch. Obviously, my YouTube viewers will put you in touch with everyone there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Just love yourself so completely. Be kind to yourself. If you say mean words to yourself, shut that little voice down. What'd you say? The fear leader? Bye-bye. Love you all. Stay safe. Stay well. And thanks for being here. So grateful you're part of the Extraordinaires family, because you are an extraordinaire. Never forget it. Bye-bye, everybody.
Extraordinary.